Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. Thanks again for watching. It is Monday, the 30th of September, the last day of September. Can you believe it? Only a few months till Christmas. God, shouldn't say that really, should I? Don't panic. Actually, we'll take a look at the forecast in a moment through the rest of October and early November to show you what the latest CFS is hinting at. But just a reminder that we kept free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen, and by you coming back and using the site is what keeps us free of charge. So thanks for doing that. So let's just whiz through the forecast for this week. First of all, this is today. Got low pressure out towards the west. These fronts pushing into the west as well. They're just bringing very light outbreaks of rain from more western areas. The east is tending to stay dry but rather breezy. Now we've got little change in the pattern tomorrow. Still these fronts out towards the west, and they'll bring some spots of rain southwest England, parts of the West Midlands, Wales, parts of western Scotland and Ireland. But most eastern areas staying dry, still with this brisk southeasterly flow. Little change on Wednesday. You notice still got these fronts out towards the west. They're pushing in, but this low that's coming in from the west is starting to invigorate these fronts all the time. So I think Wednesday generally a cloudier day for most of us. Further spots of rain around, an increased risk of more of us seeing some rain on Wednesday. The east coast may just stay dry with that brisk southeasterly wind keeping the rain away, but for many it's cloudy, and we've just got those few spots of rain, but turning more persistent through Ireland and in towards the west late on. Now a change takes place on Thursday. This front here moves its way eastwards. This is the position at midnight, but then we find heavy rain as that front moves eastwards through the day on Thursday. Most of us seeing some heavy rain on Thursday, or heavy bursts of rain with strong winds. Dry weather follows into the west later, but for most I think just think of Thursday as being a wet day. Now on Friday, fronts are moving their way north and eastwards, taking rain eastwards with them. I think could still be some rain around in the east at first, but then this feature kind of backs itself back round during Friday. So although many central and eastern areas should be starting drier, I think this rain will be pushing in during the course of Friday itself. But hopefully by the time we get through to the middle of the day on Friday into Friday afternoon, we get this brighter, fresher weather moving in from the west. And that takes us into a fresher flow for Saturday, generally coming in from the west, one or two showers around, most of them in the west, with eastern areas tending to stay drier. Now, what happens after that? Well, it's big question time on this one. It's just so tricky to try and pin it down. If you've watched over the last few days, you'll know that I've really been struggling with this, with the idea of what happens to the pattern after this week. And most of the reason for that is quite simply because we have tropical storms in the system. It always affects the models, so you do get conflicting signals coming in from the models. So we've been watching the CFS quite closely just to see what this was producing. And you notice here, look, here's the rise in temperature as we head into this weekend. But then you notice how it falls off, look, heading into next week. And then that's the bit that I'm interested in, this period here, during the middle part of October. We see this step change in conditions. In fact, there may be a couple of step changes. I think one around the 11th, and then the next one around about the 20th, where we see temperatures falling off. Now, quite interesting to look at how the rainfall pattern sees itself through these coming weeks. This is the rainfall pattern for this week. This is mean daily precipitation across the UK, or sorry, it's precipitation rate across the UK. So you see here quite a bit of rain on there during this week ending the 6th. Now go forward to the weekend in the 13th, and look, you notice that for next week, look, the precipitation is lighter. And it stays that way into the middle of the month too. This is the week ending the 20th, so not much precipitation there. This hinting that we've got this train of fronts towards the north of the country, probably low pressure down over the southern parts of France. But I think what we will find is this east to northeasterly flow with high pressure across the north of the UK somewhere, possibly bringing dry conditions. So I do think from the middle part of the month, so sort of mid-October, I'm kind of thinking 13th, 14th onwards, then we find a dry spell in there, or drier spell in there. I don't want to say completely dry, because the high isn't over the top of us, but just look what happens. This is the weekend in the 27th. I think high pressure is getting in here during that week, and the flow that we're going to see is something like that. It puts low pressure down over the Balkans. It brings in another cold feed into the Balkans, something like that. So we get a trough in here. We're going to get a ridge building across the top here. And it tries to make that final part of October into a dry period, with the high into the early part of November drifting its way eastwards. But then you see this breakdown coming in from the west by the time we get into that first section of November. So very interesting to see how that pattern is evolving, and it's pushing us all the time towards this idea of higher pressure being in during the middle part of October, but not a real dense area of high pressure over the top of us, but that eventually arriving possibly towards the end of the month into the early part of November. Interesting times. I'm going to update the winter forecast as well in the next couple of days, so we'll bring you up to date on that too. But for now, thanks again for watching weatherweb.net, and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.